everybody. I hope that we can feel the energy of awareness or the energy of being aware. And I hope that we can well, what do I hope? Wait, wait, wait. Who's waiting? What are they waiting for? Wait. Hello? 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 What if I tried to do this? Making a mess of everything, eh? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? And just focus on the breathing. Don't focus on thinking about anything. Stop scrolling, stop doing, stop, etc., etc. Let's see. Jeez Louise. Hello? Hello? Oh, it's good. It's good. Hello? Do not swipe up for next stream. Wow, the latency is really low. You're really close to, a second off from what's happening here, watching in the live stream. It's something very different. It's a very different way of going about what you're doing or what you do, right? With the mind or with the self. To sit and breathe and observe the mind happening. All these thoughts, all these stories, relationships, narratives, descriptions of your life, they're just kind of like happenings, like breezes of the wind or drops of the leaves dropping, or clouds. I mean, in terms of your life and everything that you hold dear, disaster can strike at any moment, can it not? Like the stock market crashing in 2018 or 2008. Stock market's always crashing, isn't it? Going up and down. This sense of feeling good, feeling bad, feeling comfortable, feeling uncomfortable, it's so inconsistent. But let's say you have a relationship. That person can die if they get in a car. That person might already have brain cancer. You may die if you get in a car and drive somewhere. You may already have brain cancer. True or not true? Real or not real? Does it mean that we can't have a life and have a direction in which to go? Yeah, it does mean that. That idea of yourself is an illusion, is a hallucinatory appearance, is like a dream, that your life is like a dream. And this uncertainty dissolves that dream. Sit there and be uncertain. Sit there and be not sure. Sit there and be not convinced, not certain. Be completely uncertain. Imagine if you were driving a car and there was an uncertainty in terms of where you turned the wheel and how that would affect the car. What would you do? You would stop. You would pump the brakes. So this uncertainty is everywhere. This uncertainty is in everything. Your life is primarily uncertainty. Your identity is primarily based in not understanding and not knowing most things. True or not true? Real or not real? Not that we have to wait until the diagnosis that we have colon cancer at 34. Not to wait until the phone call that our loved one, that our child, that our grandparent, that our mother or father has passed away. It is already that way. It is that way in the comfort. It is that way in the uncomfort. It is that way in the appearance of solidity. It is that way in the direction going the way you want it to go, and in the direction going the way you don't want it to go. It is already that way. It is already uncertain. It is already not for sure. Nothing that you think is for sure. No feeling that you have is for sure. So why are you being directed by thoughts? Why are you being directed by feelings? Why are you under the control of random appearances internally and externally? Why can't you see the value of stopping and seeing? Stopping and breathing, stopping and experiencing. everything going the way that it's going is entirely out of your control, is entirely according to your blessings. Appearances are not random, they're unfathomable. It's not something to think about. It's a willingness to stop and see and be and experience that's not based on creating these little fucking stories and playing these little fucking games and living in a little fucking fantasy world where your opinion or your thought matters or your position matters. Nobody gives a fuck. I have to respond. I have to say something. No, you don't. Just like I don't have to say anything. I don't have to respond. Creating the story that a story is what it means to be human is just a fart. It's just shit. It's just nonsense. The ego trying to perpetuate itself. There is no but. The but is shut the fuck up and meditate. You think this but is coming from you, but the you is just another thought, just something made up. This is a mirror. This is your own mind, and it is unfathomable. Even your own body, your own mind are unfathomable, as if you've even tried to fathom it or tried to look into your own mind or your own experience in a totally not superfluous way. How much more so is the entire world, the entire fucking universe unfathomable? We've gone from being human beings to being animals that pretend to understand everything, pretend to know everything, when in fact, we know nothing. We know only the bullshit that pops up in our head and that we arbitrarily believe in. Sure, don't try to meditate. Everybody can say some bullshit. Go ahead. Everybody say some bullshit. I'm listening. I was a Buddhist monk. Learn to speak in cursive. Learn to not think. You know, it's true. It's true. This is not very marketable. Who wants to face suffering? Trying to sell people on facing their suffering and, being humbled by their own experience. Who's going to buy that? And what do you get? You'll get nothing. Certainly not in the short term. Don't write comments. Don't leave comments. Just shut the fuck up and meditate. Face the energy, the direct experience inside of the body right now, instead of facing your shallow bullshit thoughts and opinions that don't fucking matter here. Don't worry, those thoughts will be there for you later on if they're important. Those pleasures and those things that you might be afraid of, they'll be there for you later if they're important enough. Right now, there's no need, there's no impetus on that. What the heck? What's happening? Baby, baby, when I touch you like this, will you hold me like that? 'Cause it's all coming back to me now.
Yeah, good, Tarkan. And ephemera, you just don't get it, and that's partly that's my fault because I'm teaching. These are two high-level teachings for the general population, especially in a context like this where it's a sporadic open door live stream session. So sue me, throw me off a bridge, I deserve it. Dr. Rob, you're under arrest for crimes against humanity. We sentence you to 1,000 years imprisonment. No. And I'm not much of a brave man. I am a scaredy cat, but when life gives you fucking lemons, who says that you got sugar? What do you mean when life gives you lemons, make lemonade? Where do you get the fucking sugar from? Life didn't give you any sugar. You're gonna drink lemonade with raw lemons, pure lemon juice? That's not fucking lemonade, that's fucking liquid acid. Drink as much of that as you want. That's all you got, so that's what you're gonna have to drink, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's fine if lemon juice goes hard, but think if you're just drinking lemon juice. And it's not lemon juice, it's fucking pure lemon. It's undiluted lemon acid. So lemon juice is okay, but think about drinking that when you're thirsty. A whole cup of lemon juice, a gallon of lemon juice. Good luck. The anxiety and the uncertainty is a very natural part of being a human being, especially how overstimulated we might be and how isolated from community we might be. That in itself isn't going to be too much of a problem. The problem is that if you don't have access to wholesome coping mechanisms, if you don't have access to happiness, you don't have access to joy, you don't have access to peace, then yeah, you're going to get mentally sick. You're going to have a lot of problems that are very deep and strong. So be careful, you know. You have to cultivate, you have to know how to cultivate happiness inside of your life, inside of your mind right now. That anxiety is normal, especially if you drink coffee. Yeah, you have to endure, and your unwillingness to endure it is why it's the paramount aspect of your life and your identity, because you're not willing to endure and to feel uncertainty and anxiety, and you have to calm down. You have to practice sense restraint. No, being mentally ill isn't bad. It's a side effect of a mentally ill society and a mentally ill community. America's supposed to be the most developed culture and society in the world, right? So why is there all this mental illness? Because it's a sick society, it's a sick culture, it's a broken culture where people don't get what they need to be mentally healthy and wealthy. Yes or no? True or not true? Be careful to not get anxiety about anxiety. It's teaching you something. We say, well, I don't want to learn right now. Yeah, but that's what's on the table right now. That's what you have to eat and digest and process and be with right now. And let's say you're masturbating 2 or 3 times a day, you're drinking alcohol, or God forbid you're smoking cigarettes because you're so anxious. Well, what about when you're not somewhere where you can masturbate, where you're not somewhere that you can drink alcohol, where you're not somewhere you can masturbate? What then? That's why meditation is very powerful. That's why meditating on our breath, being with our direct experience is very powerful, because you can do that anywhere. You can do that in heaven, you can do that in hell, you can do that in prison, you can do that as a fucking millionaire. And we might develop our mind or develop our circumstances where we're convinced of this kind of consistency of protection and safety. Well, that's fine and good enough, but what about the world? What about when the world comes to meet you and the world comes to spank you? And then you got another layer to deal with. So I'm pretty unafraid, or I've experienced a lot of the wrath and fear of my own mind. But, you know, what the world has to offer can be a lot of suffering, a lot of difficult conditions. So we meditate not just for ourselves because, well, everything's going fine for me. Nothing should be going wrong for me. Yeah, but there could be something that goes wrong in the world, and you have to deal with that. So we don't just meditate for ourselves, we meditate for and together with everyone and everything. Now, that's the power, that's the important part. It's not actually the the meditation that you do each day is more like an expression of your concern with the path of ending suffering. So for me, I should be concerned with that, or I want to be concerned with that every living moment. The present moment action of mindfulness is more important than how much you meditate per day. The present moment action of mindfulness and detachment. Meditating for a particular period of time a day is kind of like a coping mechanism. And we do have to cope with our lives. So if you were in heaven, well, you wouldn't meditate at all, because you'd just be enjoying all the pleasures and all the richness of life, right? Or if you were very wealthy, very famous, so you had security guards, you were a president, you were a leader of a country or something like that, you don't need to meditate because everything's fine and dandy and wonderful. Everything's set up, a rainbow road, a golden house is built for you. But if you were in prison or in hell, well, you're not going to have any choice but to meditate all the time because of the intensity of that suffering that you have to endure and be with and go beyond. So as we are not in heaven, we're not in hell, we should be concerned with the present action of mindfulness and detachment continuously, as much as possible. In the now. Well, not being empathetic is okay as long as you still care. It's like having very strong independence, very strong barriers between yourself and your practice and the outside world. That's very good, that's very important. But when it gets into not caring, a callousness, then it's like you're rejecting all these different elements of experience. So if you can, don't reject anything. If you're not attached to what other people think or what other people say or what other people are doing, that's good. If you don't care, that's bad. Because sometimes you won't have a choice. That's kind of a luxury to say, I don't care. And then even in your close relationships, you can say, I don't care, and then all of these relationships fall apart. Or that we don't care about ourselves. Oh, I'm not attached to myself. Whatever happens, I'll be just fine. Yeah, but that's not really realistic for most people. That's a kind of callousness. And that's a callous that can be broken through by cause and conditions and circumstances. Well, that's what Buddhism teaches us, that we can go beyond reincarnation. We can go beyond rebirth. We can go beyond being born and dying, and all of these cycles of our experience. Being born in heaven, being born in hell, being born as an animal that's just seeking for food, stuffing our face like a pig. I apologize for the speciesism. We can be this transcendental mindfulness that's beyond birth and death, beyond life and identity. That's where Nibbana is. That's where freedom is. That's where boundlessness is. That's where unconditionality is. Just like, regardless of your conditions, like the structure of your house and the relationships you have and your health insurance and your access to medical care, you can die at any moment. Maybe it's an earthquake, maybe it's a brain aneurysm, maybe it's a heart attack, etc. So this transcendental mindfulness is beyond story, it's beyond words and phrases, it's beyond yourself in a scope of time. Already beyond, already totally, completely beyond. So what's being said, what's being shared here is to stop and see. How fully can you stop? You want to see an accident. Maybe this is an accident, or maybe this is a wonderful thing happening, an evolution of human experience happening, and you're driving your car by. It doesn't matter if it's an accident and a disaster or a wonderful miracle. The degree to which you can slow down, the degree to which you can stop, is to actually be able to experience that. I visit monasteries all the time in my travels, and I'll go and spend time with my teacher again in the future, in the near future, very likely. I'm also hoping to meet Ajahn Brahm in the near future. Because I stay concerned with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. I don't just stay concerned with myself and consuming things and thinking about things, etc. I stay concerned with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. I stay concerned with the path. I stay concerned with doing good deeds for the others, sharing. You say, well, are you sure you should be teaching or sharing or whatever? I can't be sure about anything. What I can be sure about is what I give my attention and my time and my energy to. Oh, you gain richness, ephemera. Your experience becomes more rich, more rich, more rich. But an element of that richness is the uncertainty, going through that uncertainty, that true uncertainty of the self, of the identity, of the person who has this experience, the person who owns this experience. You see what I'm saying? That's why people don't become successful in meditation, because they're trying to get some kind of experience. But it's more like we're burning through this seeking for experience. We sit here and we burn through this seeking for experience. How much should a layperson or someone who's kind of on the sidelines of Buddhism or meditation or spirituality, not being a monk, how much should they meditate? Maybe they shouldn't meditate. Maybe they should practice doing good deeds and following precepts and mindfulness in their daily life, and listen to Dharma talks, listen to Plum Village happiness songs. They may be better off if they approach it that way. Because when you start to meditate, you start to burrow into your mind, let's say. And if we grow up in a culture, in a society that's very sick and broken, well, it's not unlikely that you're going to uncover a lot of trauma, a lot of intergenerational trauma, a lot of intergenerational cognitive dissonance, a lot of intergenerational suffering that you now have to transform. You might start to realize how ill you are, how wrong you are about what you've thought, what you've believed, about this identity that you've created. So as we lift ourselves up, it helps us when we crash back down, and we will crash back down. We say, well, maybe I'll just die very quickly, or when I'm coming near to death, I'll be euthanized, or I'll get a morphine drip, right? But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this self that we experience, not, okay, I'm going to die, I'll just die. That's a nihilism. So it's not about just dying or not having any experiences anymore. It's about our humanness, to face our humanness, to face our desire, to face our fear, to face our hope, to face the hopelessness of the self, of the identity of the person that controls, that can get what they want, that can avoid what they want to avoid. I mean, what could be more hopeless than that? That there's an element of truth in you totally being unable to avoid what you want to avoid and totally unable to get what you want to get absolutely, truthfully, in reality. So that's what we're confronting and kind of embracing in our meditation. And we take refuge in the Dharma, or we take refuge in the teachings of the Zen masters, because that's a lot better than taking refuge in our own understanding and our own ego, our own desire, and our own fear. Well, we don't know that for ourselves, CF. So going back to our direct experience again is very important, very essential. That's why somebody asked me, what happens when people die? I don't know. You're going to have to call somebody who's dead and see what they tell you. So there's a ridiculousness in a lot of the beliefs that we hold on to, meaning that they're impractical, that they're not based on our direct experience. And then if you were totally practical, if you were totally based on your direct experience, well, how the heck would you want to feel? You'd want to feel totally blissful and free and unmoved and unbothered and not dependent on any external circumstances. So that's going into the dhyana, going into the absorption into meditation. Cut, 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 cut. Not everybody knows. Yeah, cut through appearances, cut through thoughts, cut through beliefs, cut through stories, cut through sensations, cut through feelings. Cut, 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 cut the cutting itself. So we say, well, it's a good idea, but I don't really know how to meditate. Everybody knows how to meditate. Or, sorry, most people don't know how to meditate, but we know how to try to meditate. Everybody here knows how to try to meditate. So we don't have to try and think things through, figure things out here. We can just shut the fuck up and try to meditate and then go on with our lives. Sow blessings. Sow this blessing of unconditionality. Sow this blessing of being that's not based on stories, past or future, etc. you can at least try that kind of thing a little bit. You know what I mean? There's not necessarily, yeah, surrendering. And then we surrender in this kind of simple, fine, comfortable environment that's just fine, that's not a big deal, right? There's no big deal about one. There's no big deal about what we're experiencing, right? So we learn to surrender in that. And then hopefully, when we get detained at the border or when life comes to kick our ass, we remember, oh, surrender, even though it's very difficult. And then hopefully, eventually, one time that will happen. You'll get to experience that surrender and that freedom from appearances, that freedom from pain, that freedom even from the most intense pain, the most difficult pain just disappears like that. It's been a while since I've fucking experienced that. So you are interested, right? You are interested in the freedom from suffering or in the enlightenment. But you're not living as a monk. You're not meditating all day, every day. You're not living in a monastery in a hut somewhere. So, what is it that you're doing all day? What is it that you're investing your time and your energy and your spirit and your mental, physical, and verbal actions into? There's no perfect spiritual practice. Well, I'm going to do yoga, I'm going to do this, do that. Well, maybe you are. But what are you investing into in your daily normal life? With your mental energy, with your physical energy, with your speech energy. And ephemera, that's a very problematic way to go about things. Taking refuge in our own understanding, even the Christians know this. Rely not on your own understanding, but rely upon the understanding of God. Have faith in his words. Because someone, Tarkon, who we don't know who they are, says, to surrender our masks and be truly ourselves. That statement could be true and it could be untrue, depending on the case, depending on the circumstance, depending on the quality of that person's voice when they say it. So, going around and understanding other people and understanding the world and understanding ourselves is very, very problematic because it's based on taking refuge in and relying upon and attaching to our own understanding. Well, our own understanding is very, very, very limited. What's not limited is this understanding of beingness that's based in direct experience and is not based in the words and phrases that you hold about other people and situations in the world
or words and phrases that you hold about this body and mind or that body and mind. Those words and phrases are unreliable and limited. Untenably, ridiculously limited. The last thing you need is psychedelics, something to add on to this experience to make it more special. It is already overflowing with so much specialness that you're lucky that you don't shit your pants. You're lucky that you're not having a panic attack. You're lucky that you have even a small semblance of sanity. So we go into, when we meditate, not trying to meditate, trying to concentrate, trying to get enlightenment, we go into gratitude for being. Breathing in, I go back to the island within myself. There are beautiful trees within the island. There are blue skies and water, there are birds, sunshine and fresh air. Breathing out, I feel safe. I enjoy going back to my island. So Aeol, Brio, using weird characters from the keyboard, you don't need to say that comment. Just go back to the island within yourself. Now's the time to practice, to try to meditate, and then share when you try to meditate what's wrong. Not to share that. Okay? You come here, don't come here because you love Dr. Rob so much. Come here as a refuge for practice. You know, instead of creating this character that you love so much, why don't you look at the person sitting before you, sitting in front of you, and practice accordingly? Receive my mind, receive the mind now. When you see my face in meditation, receive that mind. Try to practice like that. We're very sensitive. Human beings are very sensitive. It's not just hearing what I have to say, receive the mind that is on the table, that is being offered here. if we can't be with ourselves intimately and closely when nothing is really going on, then the person, the self that we bring to all the things that are going on is going to be discombobulated and dysregulated, not coming from a place of balance, even for a second, even for a minute, even for a moment, to be okay with what is, without all these extra things and extra stories. It's a fantasy. The life that we think about and that we worry about and that we desire for is a fantasy. It's like a movie that we can turn on and turn off. And if you sit and you try to meditate, you will see it turn on and turn off. You will see that it's just fine not being in a story. You can repeat after me. We can say this together. It is just fine not being in a story. It is just fine not being in a story. It is just fine not being in a story. And bluntly speaking, the longer and the more that you can sit there and meditate like that, the better food will taste, the safer you will be in your life, the more stable and deep and powerful your mind will become. Simply. So actually, it's a gift to be able to meditate. It is precious and wonderful. Something that needs absolutely no explanation. Breathing and being. And the endorsement and the involvement that you give, the stamp of approval you give to the thoughts, turn that stamp towards the breathing. The thoughts don't need to be approved or rejected. Just continue by approving the breathing. The breathing is not an idea. The breathing is not based in thoughts or words and phrases. It is experiential. And allow that breathing to open the door of being. instead of being involved with the appearances of mind. Let breathing be the answer. Let being overwhelm appearances. Nothing to get, nowhere to go. Nothing to understand. Nothing to manage or control. Breathing and being. Wakefulness, presence, not drowsiness, not sleepiness, not drifting. Openness to being, openness to breathing. Not thinking about it, letting the breath do the thinking. Let the breath be the thoughts. Let the mind be in the body and at the same time beyond the body. As the mind says, what about this? What about that? Breathing answers, being answers automatically. A full answer. As long as you can, let this test of life be answered through breathing and being. Whatever happens, whatever thought happens, whatever experience happens, give it the gift of breathing and being. No rejecting, no following, no attaching. No. Breathing that is beyond breathing. Being that is beyond being. Not saying yes or no. In breathing and being, there is no yes and no. Just irrelevant. Irrelevant even of irrelevance. The evenness of no even and no of. Relax the body. Feel the silence. Taste it. Go directly into the mind. Look at the looking. Look at the mind itself. Look at where the looking comes from. Experience where the experiencing comes from. No ending, no beginning. No before, no after. No body, no mind. Everything. Look into the mind that looks. Whatever this is for you, look right at it. Look where it's coming from. Breathing, being. This is what you call you. In this, where is the thing? What is the thing known as you? Relax, open, open fully. Open the whole body and mind. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. Coming back into our normal experience. We can dissolve the body that way. We can feel a sense of openness, a sense of spaciousness. But just let it be what it is. I've only just started to get to the point where dissolving the body starts to become a little bit more accessible, but actually I'm so lazy. And after you do a meditation like that, you can also feel a sense of not really needing to move the body much. You can notice more of the internal body, like a sense of contraction or pain, but you don't need to be moved by that pain. So a short guided meditation, right? I think we can say we got a short guided meditation out of Dr. Rob today. Huzzah. Thank you. And now we can open up the space for sharing experience or asking question. Okay? And that's really good medicine, I'll tell you what. It's very healing medicine, very powerful. You can cure cancer that way. You can cure anxiety that way. You can cure depression that way. And then, we're not monks, so it all starts again. Back to hell. It is beautiful, isn't it? And we can go so fully into that, you know? We can go so fully into that. That's also like a right meditation. Hey, yay! Oh, it's definitely too many, brother. It's definitely too many. Well, Machamp, you should call in sometime on WhatsApp. You know, I don't need to be live streaming for you to call in and we can talk a little bit. But the real death is the death we experience in meditation, not the death of the body. There isn't actually a body. So people trying to like end their body, it's just from a place of confusion. What we're really dealing with here is the mind, but we're not sensitive enough to see that. We're not sensitive enough to see that we're not having a full body experience. Or, for example, that in meditation, the body will not be there. It's like, right now, a sensation I can feel in the body is like this sensation of my knee against the metal rack. But I think I identify that, oh, this is my body, this is the mind's body. But actually it's happening very fast, sensations here, sensations there. The body's not actually real. But you have to meditate very deeply to then realize that and then decouple the anxiety response related to sensations of the body. And when we cut out sensual pleasure, and when we cut out all of this, pleasuring the body and beautifying the body and all that, and we sleep less and eat less, and, like we'll do in a meditation retreat, we get to realize how problematic the body is and we get to drop it. We get to abandon it or to forgive the identity of the body. Because the body is just this corpse, this lump, this sack of shit. And we say, oh, but there's so much pleasure. Okay, yeah, there's pleasure, but how about the equalness of pain with that pleasure? You don't want that, do you? So that's why the pleasure seeking, we really need to be very not indulgent in that. The body doesn't know what's going on. Only the mind knows what's going on, seemingly, right? So you have to be careful. And your identification with the body
is why you get so caught up in the panic attacks and the fear, in the pleasure seeking and the I have to protect what's mine. It's very problematic. And then you see the work that can be done, and you feel humbled. It humbles you. It makes you human. It makes you authentic. It makes you compassionate. It makes you see how real suffering is, and having a body, having a mind, this possession, this ownership, this I am. And then you can feel that suffering in others, and you wish for that suffering to end, period. It's not about them believing in this or believing in that or doing this or doing that. There's just this wish for that suffering to end. So when we meditate like that, it's like we're laying down anchor. We're laying down an anchor into the human realm, which is the realm in which we can become enlightened. Because when we're in heaven or when we're in the God realm, there's not enough suffering for us to realize the importance of detachment, mindfulness and detachment. And then when we're not human enough like that, when we don't have compassion, we can't build real community. And if you're a monk, then you can really build community because people trust you more and you have to carry yourself in a certain way. So when it comes to like eating, the Buddha said, eat as if you're eating your only child. Just eat for energy. Don't eat for pleasure, because that's going to put you on a pleasure. It's going to feed the pleasure simplex virus, which means that you have pain too. Love the life you live with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind, and love all humankind as you would love yourself, and love the life you live with all your heart and all your soul and mind, and let it shine. You've got all your life to live. You've got all your love to give. You've got love inside your heart, and you should let it show. Yeah, that's the thing, Evan. We were just talking about that before. Yesterday in the live stream, in the 4K live stream, about you going around and looking on social media and comparing yourself with others, you know, it's turning the mind into a minefield. And naturally, you're going to step on something and get hurt. That's why we go into the island within ourselves instead of perpetuating, you know, all of this unnecessary comparing and contrasting. The island within yourself is very peaceful, very wonderful. It's a joy, it's a gift. But it's a gift that only you can give yourself and only you can receive. So this monk life meditation, it's not so much about Dr. Rob the guru, it's about Dr. Rob the human being who's on this journey. And, you know, not about spiritual students, but spiritual friendship. And that's what resonates with me. And if you can't take me being myself, well then you shouldn't take me as a teacher. And our teachers are our best spiritual friends. And in the West, we don't have a context for that relationship like they do in the East, so we have to build up trust through vulnerability and authenticity and exposure rather than faith in, you know, the monk or what have you. Here, at least, because I'm not a monk, so you can't build faith in the monk. But if you really want to make some, you know, spiritual progress or whatever, well, you'll probably have to go and stay at a meditation center, stay at a monastery, go to a meditation retreat. Yeah, please stop and enjoy detachment. I should have said that to myself while I was meditating. All right.
Get annoyed when people say I'm something when I already feel the type of way about it. But I think you're pretty social, dude. You know? I feel like you have things to share and a good fucking butt.
You have no idea,
Like-
man. Like, Chippy Size helped me a lot with communicating with people better. I used to think it's okay to just, like, come into a room and be like, you're fucking bullshit. Dude, sounds like you're full of shit. And I'll be pointing out everybody's flaws and then leave. You know, honking around like a chaotic goose. So I'm trying to be more open, expressive, and caring, you know?
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. I love that. Yeah, she helps me.
Good morning. You missed our...
Star.
Is that Monk?
Hello, I'm Dr. Rob. Nice to meet you.
They're like Dr. Rob. You look like Dr. Phil, bro. Go ahead, Dr. Rob. Rob us of our time.
I thought we were just getting through all that kind of stuff. Seems like old habits die hard.
Getting through what type of stuff? You said, yeah, you thought we were already getting through that type of stuff. What type of stuff did you mean?
The stuff you were talking about.
Yeah, can you express it any better? Can you explain that?
No, I cannot.
No problem, Dr. Rob. I usually make conclusions without being able to explain why I, led to the conclusion a lot of the times too.
Well, that's you. That's not me.
I'm just joking. I'm pointing out what
Okay.
you just did.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't
you
do
just
that.
said
That's
not
maybe
me.
what you've experienced, but
Well,
I didn't
answer
listen.
the question.
What's
Answer
the question?
Yeah, you said, what do you think about all of us, I suppose? Like you said, not just again, type of energy. I don't know how to express it any better for you.
Me too.
All good. What's up, Dr. O?
Just got finished with my meditation practice.
What's that involve? How do you meditate?
Just focusing on looking at the mind until the body starts to dissolve.
Yeah. That's the base of it, right? I totally get that. Do you ever try any more like intricate practices that involve like steps or like more involved activity during your meditation?
Well, I already received the training of those steps, so now it can happen automatically, it can happen intuitively.
just according to willingness.
What type of step-based meditation practices have you done?
Mahasi Vipassana or Zazen or silent illumination or breath counting or
So you drop the practice.
10-day
and you
Vipassana.
So you drop the practice now, you don't need it. It's like that was your training wheels and you can just sort of do it now.
I guess you could say it that way, but I don't have like a full willingness. If I did, I'd probably be a monk living in the forest because I'd be holding on to all those dhyanas and those good states of meditation.
I think it's easier to meditate in a forest or a cave or a retreat.
Depends
That's
depends
Dr. Rob
depends who
living
you are.
inside.
Depends who you are, right? If we're just
Yeah,
living
yeah,
in our
yeah.
house, then
Just,
it's going to be
uh,
easier to meditate there.
Oh, I think the opposite. I think retreats are the escape with that people.
Well,
go
what
through
I'm
when they have
saying-
trouble meditating.
What I'm saying is that if you can't meditate now, when are you going to meditate? You know, do you really need a trip to the forest to meditate? That's going to be difficult. But where you are already, that's quite
I
suitable
think
for
we
meditation.
agree. I think we agree there. I think the focus was off though. I was focusing on, is it more challenging to meditate in this lively world of interacting with social environments and, you know, the world we live in, regular ass life, in
Yeah.
comparison to
In your regular
at a
ass
retreat
life,
where
yeah.
It's easy. Yeah, it's easy at a retreat. It gets challenging when you go through your regular ass life and try to keep it up.
But if you're just here,
What I kind of was curious about was like people will set time aside to meditate or, you know, focus on, you know, their trauma or whatever. Why? My only problem with that is like, why not? Why do people set time aside for? I'm not saying this is you guys. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, why do people set time
It's like-
aside to do it? And why
It's like
not
going
just?
to the gym. It's like you go to the gym, you get big muscles. You meditate, you get better at being emotionally intelligent, I guess.
Yeah, but what I meant was like people set time aside. Like, why not just meditate 24/7? Why not just be in a state of presence
Yeah.
all the time?
because that's very
Well,
advanced.
Have you
Bec-
tried doing it?
because-
What do you
I'm
think?
bad at it. I'm bad at it, but I'm trying. I'm trying to get better at it.
Because
I only do 40 minutes a day, and I want to push myself to do more now. 40 minutes is not enough.
Because to meditate 24 hours a day takes an insight, takes a wisdom, takes a piece of the pie. It's a transcendental. Real meditation is transcendental. It's like saying, what are you going to do tomorrow? Good luck. That's what you need to get to tomorrow. You know, let alone if the you is even not just another thought, which it very well may be. So it's a transcendental, right? So if you're meditating all the time, that's the timeless time of now.
Yeah,
So
dude.
if you
I
have
like that.
so what oftentimes happens is that people will say, well, I meditate all the time, but they're not actually talking about a transcendental thing. They're talking about the view of their ego, about their ego being meditating all the time, and that's
What does transcendental mean, by the way?
Okay, so-
before you continue, I just thought I'd ask
So,
you.
okay, so transcendental means, for example, like you would say, I would say, as a normal person, that I am not the environment that I'm in. Like my body is existing independently from the environment. That's a normal view, right? I can't control the walls of the environment, but I can control my hands and my arms, right? So the transcendental view would be that that notion is just a thought and it's irrelevant to reality. So that there's not actually any real separate, like the notion of separation is kind of just another thought. So that my, you know, like the physical, if we're talking about the physical composition of the body, the physical composition of my body is being held together by the environment, by the atmosphere, for example, that surrounds the earth. And all the different variables. So the transcendental view is kind of referring to that. So this separation existing in non-separation, or this time existing in timelessness. You can also think about it in terms of like, you've already been born
you're alive. You're not wearing an Iron Man suit, are you?
No.
So even walking under a tree, you can die immediately, let alone a brain aneurysm or what have you. And so people get these ideas and create this super ego about I meditate all the time, I'm unified, and it's just conditional nonsense. And if those people were actually to be in a position of responsibility, spiritually or practically, you would see that they're not very skillful at all. So it's a kind of enlightenment that's conditional. And those people oftentimes do not have like realized teachers or people that they can point to, or like high teachings that they can point to. They point to like 5 hertz frequencies and weird people talking about weird things. And it's basically just this kind of a schizophrenic thing. And we're all schizophrenic in the sense of having this idea of a separation, one could say, because actually the body is being held together by the environment. But in that transcendental view, there's no better or worse. It's like an alreadiness, depending on the situation or the school. So like the Mahayana Buddhism or the Zen Buddhism says, you are already Buddha, but you don't recognize it. And then the Theravada school would say, yeah, the Buddha, you can access enlightenment, but you're going to have to purify the mind to become enlightened, to become a Buddha. So one is more practically practical with a transcendental basis, and the other is practical on a transcendental basis only. But those people usually include, those masters are very practical as well. Just, eat, sleep, use the toilet. That's all you need to do, as they'd say.
Damn. Goose, what do you think?
So there's like a difference between people who want to convince you of their position and how they see themselves and how they see the situation, versus people that are willing to share with you if you're interested. And that's a very, very important difference. Very, very important difference, especially in spiritual community. Because these people have kind of convinced themselves that they have this access to insight that they don't. Or even if they did, they wouldn't know that because they haven't actually studied or practiced or trained in environments that are actually informed about that. So it's just a ridiculous ego idea of being enlightened. And sometimes you see those characters come into places like this and they quickly burn themselves out. Ask me any question, I'm enlightened, I've penetrated all depths, and then, that person's actually very unstable and very problematic. And selfish, right? It all comes back to selfishness as the biggest problematicness.
No worries, Goose.
And it's a terrible burden to carry as well. You have to meditate, you have to practice mindfulness and detachment, you have to see the faultiness of sensuality in all of its forms. It's a horrible burden, but it's very good for the others, for people who depend on you. It's very good for the children of the world, all that kind of stuff. It's very good for society, but for the self, it's a horrible, horrible burden.
So, a lot of the times these meditation centers say, Buddhism cannot cure mental illness. Don't come here and try to meditate if you're mentally ill. And that's because they don't want to deal with it, because it's going to be very difficult to get through that and go beyond that.
Hold on a second. Yeah. I have a serious question for you. I hear you describing Buddhist practice as being a terrible burden on the self. Am I correct? Is that what's
Well, no, because once you start to go further along the track, it's like you can't turn back. You can't turn back to the position of ignorance that your ego operated in before. So it's like you've made it so that you now have more responsibility than you had before. And for a lot of people, they would not want that or like that.
I don't see how that follows. I mean, from my understanding.
Well, I don't. It's in plain English, so I don't know why you don't see how it follows. Maybe you can say what you don't understand.
Yes, I was about to.
Just some random spiritual Discord server.
Did he just leave? Oh, here he is. Yeah, I was just wondering. So, like, my understanding of Buddhist practice would be that you, through the mind understanding the sources of suffering and abandoning those sources of suffering, it gains elevated freedom from those cycles that cause suffering. And my understanding of that was the opposite of a heavy burden.
Have you ever been on a meditation retreat?
Yes.
Which one did you go on?
What do you mean, which one?
What?
What do you mean, which one?
Can you tell me about the meditation retreat that you went on?
All right, yeah. I secluded myself for several days.
Okay. That's not what I'm talking about. So, it's good you did that. I'm happy you went on a self-retreat, right?
That's the only type of retreat that exists. That's what's called a retreat, when you're by yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's good. Good thing to do. Take a look at yourself, right?
You know, it's called a retreat. But to do a retreat is different. To do a retreat has to be.
Well, it seems like we might have a language barrier here.
Let me clarify it as we go along. I want to be clear about what I said.
Yeah.
Which is that my view of retreat is that one is by oneself, and that one meditates on it to gain insight into cycles which cause suffering, and to be able to free oneself from those cycles.
Okay,
And
good.
that, I think, is the opposite of a heavy burden.
The more you face the mind, the more you will see more suffering. So, for example, what's a meditation retreat? Well, meditation, in a common speak, well, a meditation retreat is somewhere where you go to relax and be with yourself and cut out all the distractions and, really have a good experience, right? But in practical experience or practice, that meditation retreat is very likely to be one of the worst and most difficult and intense experiences of your life. So how does that work? The more that you look at the mind, and you peel back the layers of distraction and sensuality and complicated thinking, the more suffering that you will uncover there. So you don't just go to a meditation retreat or think in your closet for a little bit and say, hey, I figured it out.
No, but when you see the suffering, that is not a burdensome experience. That is an experience of liberation. It's not something that, creates a sense that the further you go along, the harder it's getting in the sense of being burdened, as though there's like a heavier weight on you. It's the opposite of that. Would you not agree? That when one has insight into the cycles of one's suffering, such as one's mind can transcend them.
Yeah, when someone becomes a Buddha or when someone becomes an Arahat, yes. But unless
even before that, it's just from the time you see suffering in yourself and you've transcended whatever suffering you've seen and liberated yourself from that, that is an experience of, that's exactly that, liberation. Like, you don't become greater burdened, except in the sense that, you want to be liberated more.
Which takes more looking at suffering.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said.
So that's what a lot of people don't want to do. That's what I'm saying, is that the more that you look at suffering and the more that you get insight into like dukkha, anicca, anatta, impermanence, no self, and unsatisfactoriness, the more that you have to look at that because you've already seen it. So it's like you can't go backwards. You can't go backwards to not seeing that suffering. So for people who, they're saying that ignorance is bliss. Well, they say that because you haven't seen the suffering of life. This is also why we say that the human realm is a very auspicious and a very blessed realm to be in. Because if you are in the heavenly realm or the God realm, there's not enough suffering accessible to you. So you can't begin to see and penetrate into that suffering and see the first noble truth that the Buddha taught, which is that life is suffering. The body is suffering, the mind is suffering, the whole world is shit. So ignorance is bliss can be very comfortable or convenient, seemingly, for personal individuals. I think a lot of people would say, no, I live a great life, everything's going well. But their ignorance and their attachment and their greed and anger and delusion, however light it may be, because of their lack of recognition of that, causes a lot of problems in the world. So that's the kind of, modern world that you might see where there's such a kind of confusion about just taking care of the environment.
I feel like you talk a lot. I don't know if you noticed that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could be gay too, but we're not here to talk about that. We're not here to talk about what you ate last night, are we? I mean, there's all kinds of things. I notice your voice sounds kind of like that. So what? It's just ego babble. It's just trying to create an ego out of something that is specifically sharing that's not about ego. So that's what the ego does. It doesn't just try to protect itself. It tries to reify itself in this hall of mirrors that is reality. That's why you wouldn't like to go to a meditation retreat. You wouldn't like to listen to a real Dharma talk. It would be much more comfortable to listen to somebody talking about aliens or spiritual frequencies or chakras or whatever, because it reifies self.
Yeah. I mean, I just got a short attention span, so
It's okay, brother.
Track.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? If you can get yourself out of the way, then you don't have to keep track, and then you can't lose track. All of the processing takes place naturally. It doesn't require thoughts for processing to take place. So getting thoughts out of the way is actually very good, very rich. A rich man doesn't need to think about anything, while a poor man has to think about everything that he does.
Yeah, that's some dope shit you just said. I mean, you still talk a lot, but that was fire.
Well, it's better that I talk than put my foot up your ass, right?
I think a lot of our own suffering is just our attachment to the ways in which we, like the beliefs that we have and wanting, having a desire to shape the world and create our realities. Like we don't like it the way it is. We want it to be different. We, struggle with accepting things the way that they are. Not the way that our ego wants them to be.
And you can take that in a relative...
Like a whole lot of... Yeah, I mean, we can alleviate a lot of our own suffering.
You can take that in a relative sense, like in the scope of you managing your life, or you can take that in a transcendental sense of right here and right now. You're already seated. You have enough water in the body. You have enough food in the belly. You're good to go. So what do you need? Why do you need to control and manipulate and think about so much? It's just causing more and more stress and wasted energy. Some things we have to do, right? But
I do remember a friend told me about going to a Buddhist monastery. And he thought that it would be, he thought it would be quiet and serene. And he said, quite to his surprise, it was noisy. There was such like cacophony of all the people talking, and they would put them in a special room, and they would hang a sign on the door that would say, for people, going by, to please be quiet, that the Westerners were trying to meditate.
Yeah.
I just remember that, like being able to quiet your mind in the midst of, cacophony.
I'm still stuck on the whole idea of meditative accomplishment as burden. This is beyond me.
What?
It's the idea of meditative accomplishment as being a burden in any form or fashion. It's beyond me to conceive.
Well, it's not really meditative accomplishment being a burden, because that's the opposite. But when it comes to the responsibility of the self, your life falls apart. It's like death. So the last thing that you want to do as a human being that's living and wants to continue living and operating in life is to know that you could die at any moment. And so the realization is actually a death of the self. So it's not something that you want. If it was something that you could want, then everybody would be flocking to meditation. And so real meditation is antithetical to wanting, because wanting is the source cause of suffering. And then if you can really develop that, then these meditative attainments become like a natural purification takes place. And then you can even be beyond wanting those meditative attainments. And that's the kind of final liberation.
None of this sounds like a burden.
Well, you're not being generous in terms of what's being said, right? You're holding like a structure that's not coming from me to judge what I'm sharing, that also is including that structure. So it's for the notion of a self, for a someone, the knowledge or the insight into no self is not what that someone wants. It's like, how can we want our own ending? How can we seek not seeking? It's oxymoronic. Doesn't make any sense. It's like, how can we desire to meditate? Well, if you desire to meditate and you practice meditation from this basis of desire, that will certainly be wrong meditation. Because in the first noble truth that the Buddha taught, he said there is suffering. Okay, there is suffering. Life is suffering. He said life is shit. One Ajahn said the whole world is just a ball of fucking shit. One great Thai monk. And then the second noble truth right after is that there's a cause of that suffering, and that cause of that suffering is desire. So we would say that to meditate, to want to meditate, is a wholesome desire, but it's still a desire, still problematic if you're taking this absolutist position. Because there's no one world language or one world perspective. We all speak not only about ideas, that we can share with each other, but we also share principles or practices that come from our own experience. So there's not one world rule law about it's this way or it's that way. So from one perspective or position, you could certainly say it's the opposite of a burden. It's releasing the burden. But from the perspective that I'm talking about, then it is actually more of a burden because you have more responsibility. So for most people, if you look at your life, more responsibility is more of a burden. Less responsibility is less of a burden. So we all have this responsibility of the body and mind. But the more that we meditate, the more that we take spirituality seriously, the more we're going to realize how responsible we are for our own actions, for our own thoughts, for what we say, etc. And then we have to take accountability for that. Whereas when we're just ignorant, we just drink alcohol and disassociate. So it's like it takes away your ability to disassociate to a certain degree.
why you need to disassociate? It's like it's easy to be kind. It's easy.
Midnight Gospel, have you considered that Midnight Gospel, have you considered that maybe you're not really understanding what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, it's because I'm not understanding what you're saying that I'm asking you about these objections.
Why?
So that I could better understand what your perspective is, because my thing about it is that I feel like all the things which one gains, and the insights one gains from the spiritual practices, particularly meditation, particularly in Buddhist context, involve like freedom from suffering, freedom from burdens created by the mind.
No, that's Nibbana. That's Nibbana. Freedom from suffering is Nibbana. So there's 4 truths, right? So I kind of got to go through them.
Before you go on 10-minute run.
Well, that's rude. Now hold on. Now you're not speaking in good faith. Now you're acting like an asshole, saying that's going a tangent.
I mean, you kinda
I
did
thought
the same- you kinda
Midnight
did the
Gospel.
same to
Hold
me.
on.
I didn't do anything to you.
Midnight Gospel. I thought
You
we
did
were
the same to
having
me. I just gave feedback.
Midnight
You kinda
Gospel.
Came at me very aggressively.
Midnight Gospel. I thought we were having a high-minded, spiritually informed discourse between one another to understand each other's views and perspectives as experienced practitioners. Where did the going on a tangent come from? You may have just
Yeah,
revealed
you're
yourself a
triggered,
little
bro.
bit, eh?
Take a breath. Take a
Yeah, I
breath.
get it.
Let's reset.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be over complicated.
Yeah, I just want to
I feel like we're using all the words and all the language that we know, which is coming from ego. And if you step back and if you just like re-term it, like, you know, my perspective is, okay, well, what is suffering? Suffering is being uncomfortable with things. It's being dissatisfied. That's what you're fixing.
Yeah.
Like fixing the roots of the causes of you being dissatisfied with the way the world is. And I hear lots of Buddhists talk about, oh, it's definitely suffering. Why do I have to suffer? Like, yeah, my body has to grow old. I have to die, but I'm choosing to suffer. I can choose not to suffer. I can choose to become comfortable with things the way they are. And maybe in the moment when it first happens, I might acknowledge the feeling of, oh, I'm not cool with this. I don't like this. But then I can step back into a higher perspective of, I can understand this and I can understand my own reaction. And I can detach. I just think a lot of times, you know, like maybe our ego makes us overcomplicated.
Yeah, you know, I feel like that as well, as though one goes step by step. Each step by one goes, one frees oneself of a certain level of suffering. It doesn't mean that one is completely free of suffering in the sense of having achieved nirvana. But if one decides and looks at oneself and realizes, oh, I get angry in this or that situation, and recognizes the roots of anger and is able to relieve oneself of that, then one is free of anger. That is not a burden. If anything, it gives one the burden of having to then become free of fear, free of ill will.
But there's still the burden of ignorance, right? So this is not a personalist path. This is not a Hindu path. This is impersonal. So you being free from anger is based in wrong view. That there's someone who can be free from anger. Where actually it's just the anger itself, where it's just the greed itself, where it's just the non-practical, complicating thinking itself, like Maya was teaching about. And there's a lot of insight in that, what Maya was sharing. So you being free from anger is just identity view. Like to say, I'm free from anger, I transcended my suffering. That's not Buddhism. That's a personalist Dhamma. So you may have roots or you may have understandings that aren't correlated with Buddhism, so I can't speak much to that.
Well, I could definitely say that Buddhist practice is not something that promotes one giving in to things like anger through insight. But if one still thinks that there's a one that is free of anger and all that, that's philosophical to me. You can look deeper and deeper and get into it when you decide that there's no you if you wish to. There's no, to me, that's one of those pointless things. You know, like the whole you is like an abstract type of thing. Like, you know, it's brought together by like sort of clinging. You know, but I mean, that's beside the point because at the end of the day, you know, decisions must be made, etc.
Well, maybe for you, but no, but that's not
Well,
anybody else's.
you, and then there also is no you. But you know, all that is just that's kind of garble. I talk in practicality. That through practice and meditation, one becomes free of mental defilements. And being free of mental defilements is a pleasure. It's not a good.
Well, yeah, in the practice of meditation, you can experience being less and less overcome by defilements. That's kind of the efficacy of meditation. But in terms of practical application of meditation, that's not going to happen. What's primarily going to happen is you suffering more. So as much as you're willing to suffer more or see the suffering more, then you've got real meditation on the table. As much as you're meditating to not feel suffering, you're going to probably be disassociating, or you're going to have a teacher that's misleading you. The best teachers say, sit there and shut up and suffer. That's the teaching. And there's some other, if you take a broader view, like the blessing view, that's a different practice, but it's not easy to go on this path. And if you think that you're enlightened, you can know for sure that you're not. And if you think that you're advanced, then you can know for sure that you're not particularly advanced, because that's an erroneous thought. That's a ridiculous thought. And really, just like with carpentry, nobody's going to hire you, or nobody should hire you or listen to you unless you've built houses before. So it's okay, it's a good idea if you've done a personal retreat, but if someone's looking for you as a teacher, to take you on as a teacher, to listen to your advice, I would hope that you've trained with some masters, you've attended some meditation retreats, you know, that you have some real experiences to share in terms of basic, plain human experience, not in terms of ideals. Because ideals fall flat in the face of direct experience.
Fortunately, I have no desire to teach anybody anything whatsoever. I don't suffer from that issue.
Yeah, so it's just weirdo ego stuff, and that means that you're definitely not as advanced as you think you are, for sure. It's just ego nonsense.
I don't think I'm advanced. Never made that clear.
I am. Unmute your mic, please. And even also, if you take this seriously, and I know everybody says, how dare you say that? This is supposed to be our high school homecoming. We're supposed to just be having fun. But if you're serious about this path and practice, you should listen to bona fide Buddhist meditation masters, attend bona fide meditation retreats. Well, you said that you've only ever done a retreat alone by yourself, and that would be very unadvisable. That would be very unadvisable for most people, even young monks. Even for young monks, it's not recommended for them to do a meditation retreat alone. It's better to do it with the community.
That is by whom? Who said so? Certainly not the suitors.
Okay, thank you. I am. Unmute your mic, buddy.
The truth is, many people go to all of these meditation retreats and you see the symptoms when they come outside. And a lot of it is because, in reality, they go to these retreats only to try to get the conditions that they are afraid to create in their own lives. Because
that's just nonsense.
They can't walk away from them.
That's just made up stuff.
So?
It's just made up.
But, people have come from these. But listen, I've talked to several of these people coming from many different.
But why are you saying that? Why are you saying that, for example?
Well, I've seen
people. You said people go to meditation retreats and they come out, but they do that because they're afraid to create their own lives. See, that has nothing to do with Buddhism.
The person with a strong ego here is you, bro. You're literally the one hating on others. Like, you do realize that, right? In all your spiritual enlightenment.
It's a kind of retardism to say that if you want to be a carpenter, and your ego that's being offended is just a ridiculous ego. It's like if you want somebody to build your
I'm
house.
not being offended.
I'm
bro.
not talking to
being-
you personally.
Like you said, you're gonna shove your foot up my ass.
I'm not
I
talking
said
to you
that's
personally.
A little like hair.
If you want someone to build your house, if you want to have a rich, meaningful conversation about building your house, and I hope that that's kind of people's mindset here spiritually, not just to talk shit, not just to talk, right? But to actually speak from experience. You're going to want to talk to somebody and connect with somebody based on their experiences, not based on their opinions. So it's like, it's important. It's important to have these experiences, but if you're offended because you haven't been to a meditation retreat, or if you haven't gone through training, or if you haven't listened to meditation masters, then that's ridiculous. You're preventing yourself from getting more experience.
Listening to meditation masters, they'll tell you a lot of different things. Some of them will tell you it's not important to find a retreat or a teacher. It's more important for you to focus on the practices. A lot of times when people go to retreats, that's what the advice that they get. Just continue to practice. Don't worry about what's happening to you, etc., etc. I've sat down listening to several of these things, but I can tell you that nothing counts except when you're actually in solitude. And a lot of times in those retreats, people are not in solitude. A lot of times they're thinking about the other people in the retreats,
I think,
what they're going to tell the teachers.
but I
when
think
there's no
midnight,
teachers and nobody to talk to, it's totally different.
yeah, but I
When
think,
it's just you, yourself, and the darkness.
but
It's a whole other different thing.
it's a good idea. But I think that you, Midnight, if I could I comment a little bit on your aspect of your character that I perceive?
If you wish. I mean, it's not
Yeah, so
what
it's-
we're talking about.
So it seems to me that you speak from a position of authority that's not really based on much direct
Of course.
experience.
I'm talking about any authority. Why
No,
is
that's
there
just my
authority?
impression. That's my impression. And I think that can
what
be
is it
very
based on?
problematic.
Can you tell me what it's based on? Is it based on my saying 10-minute rant?
What?
What is it based on? What is your basis for suggesting that I have not had much direct experience?
No. I'm talking about, it's just my sense. It's just my feeling of how I hear you speak, the energy that I get from you. There's this sense of authority in it that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Where is that authority coming from?
Where is my authority coming from? First of all, I'm not aware of what you refer to as authority.
The authority of your views,
To say, you can be wise, but if you present your knowledge with a patronizing attitude, no
Yeah.
one's going to want to listen to you.
yeah, it's
It doesn't
patronizing.
matter how knowledgeable you are. When you have a patronizing attitude, people just start tuning you out.
I feel like
Then your message isn't going to be heard.
I feel
So
like
it doesn't matter how wise you are. You
But
need
he's
to watch
just
your attitude.
disagreeing, though. But
No.
he's just disagreeing with the comments.
well, yeah, but I'm saying it's I think when we get into conversations about spirituality, experience or training or what we're actually getting to the brass facts of our practices and our experiences and our understanding, that's not about this authority of, giving guidance to somebody else, right? That oftentimes that's,
Okay, my question though, Rob, can I, I've been just listening.
sorry, yeah, go ahead. I apologize.
I've been curious for a while.
Yeah.
I have one question for you, Rob.
Dr.
I was
Rob.
watching you on the YouTube live streams sometimes.
Yeah.
Recently, and I'm wondering what good is all of the sitting with the masters and all the meditation retreats and all the scriptures if all you get from it, what you end up with it, is acting like that, acting like the way you act on YouTube.
Yeah, it's a good point. There's a lot of elements to that. Can you be more specific? Is something specifically stand out? Because there's a lot of things that come to mind.
You want specific? I'll be specific. I like the shirt.
No, the important point, it relates to childism, actually. It relates to childism, which is systematic discrimination against children or prejudgment, prejudice towards children. So there's a false sense of authority about the way that people should be, and then also the way that people are, that directly correlates with a lack of responsibility. So it's like having a child, let's say 6 or 8 years old, that's misbehaving, and then you, as a perplexed individual, say, "How could you act like this?" Well, all the while, you are the main person who's been raising that child. So that child's disposition, that child's way of acting, that child's way of acting out, etc., is your responsibility. It's related to you. But in terms of Dr. Rob, the individuated being who is a monk for 7 years, who's traveled all, and people immediately say, "How dare you?" But that's only in spirituality. If we were talking about carpentry and I was saying who I've trained with and places where I've built and places where I've studied, etc., it wouldn't be an ego thing. It would just be kind of clearing the air and putting that out there, right? This individuated being is not easy to understand because it's not totally in this basis of Western idealism and the way that people are supposed to act. If anything, it's a protest against that. It's a kind of art piece about that, spiritual art, to get people to think and to question deeply. But when we have this appropriating or colonizing mindset where everybody is subject to our loose determinations of how people should act and what it means when they act that way, I don't really endorse that or support that. So it's also a protest against that. If that makes any sense.
I so listen to hear what makes you think that I have no direct experience. I think
well, it's not. It's.
You don't have a understanding to it.
Well, it's not about direct experience, it's about practical experience. In terms of why I think you have no direct experience, it's just how you talk. It's the sound of your voice compared to the meditation masters and practitioners that I've, studied and trained with. So the degree of your direct experience from this, like the sound of your voice, is very, very low to non-existent. But what I'm not asking about that. I'm asking about who you've trained, the teachers that you've studied under, the teachers that you've listened to, the operating principles for your perspective of philosophy or spiritual practice that's not just based on you saying what other people should do or how other people are or giving teachings, unrequested teachings.
Well, with all due respect, sir, I've done none of those things. I didn't give any teachings. I didn't say how people should be. I stated how I understood things to be, and in fact, that understanding has been supported by several teachers that I could name for you.
Name one.
You would have to respect Ajahn Lee, Ajahn Chah.
You sound a little bit young to have spent time with Ajahn Chah.
Spending time with Ajahn Chah, I got into listening to talks of Ajahn Chah. I said I spent time with Ajahn Chah.
Okay. That's good, yeah.
I'm saying that my understanding is supported by those persons.
Yeah.
Those persons have set up good teachings that have indicated that they are very practical in that same sense.
The problem with that is that it's a lot easier to build a house with your pencil than it is with a hammer. So that's the main problem with that. And once again, I'm not meaning any of this personally. I'm just talking about principles that are very sensitive because usually we don't operate on those principles when it comes to spirituality because it's kind of our personal journey.
I made a very basic statement, which is that, to me, all forms of meditative accomplishment, even from these very beginnings, going to, even if you want to say the middle, it all involves removal of overworking the mind, excess grinding, excess drama, excess horror. So I just didn't understand when you try to refer to that as being an increasing burden.
Well, like I said, so this is what I was trying to say about no, because I agree with you. I agree with you.
I don't claim to be wise. I don't try to teach anybody anything.
I agree with you in the first statement that you made, and I've already said that I agree with you on that. But what I don't agree with is the second statement that you're making, where I feel like you're mischaracterizing my position. And this directly correlates to what I said about it's a lot easier to build a house with a pencil than it is with a hammer. So what we learn when we have really meaningful experiences in spiritual community is that it's a fucking mess. and that our minds are a lot more messy than that we think that we are. So what I'm saying
Bro,
is that
that's
from
true.
one point of view and from one perspective, you could say that as someone gets further on the spiritual path, it's not like they can become more ignorant again. It's not like that they can recognize or not remember or recognize that life is suffering again. So for ignorant people, they would idealize, that's like the common speak saying goes, that ignorance is bliss. So, just in the same way that if you were to go to a meditation retreat, you may think it's going to be lollygagging and relaxing and pleasantness and pleasure. Actually, meditation retreats can be some of the most intense and difficult things that you can do in your life. On the same side, I agree with you, but it's coming from a different perspective, that these meditative attainments and meditative developments, of course, release and reduce affliction. But the process of going through that to actually release and reduce those afflictions is to face suffering primarily. That's why the first noble truth is suffering. And when you have someone like Mr. Tranny saying life is wonderful, that's fine, but that's not what the Buddha says. That's not what meditation master Ajahns in Thailand say. They say life is fucking shit. And then in one poetic way, you could say life is a flower.
We were talking about our traumas before you came in.
Life is a flower.
Life is suffering as the first discovery.
The whole world is a single flower.
One of the noble truths is the end of suffering. And that happens in stages. So I think that's the thing, like first you recognize the suffering and then you recognize that it has an end. As to say that it is not permanent. You know, and that understanding also has to do with insight. So like to believe that somehow come out of all the meditation retreats with the attitude that, you know, life is shit. Like, you know, I don't know if that is the outcome. Is that really the outcome of all of that?
That's the first noble truth of the Buddha. What do you mean? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So now you're equating.
That's truth.
You're equating
Yo,
your.
How do you know if that's truth or just a perspective?
Well, hold on. That's what I'm trying to talk about, Dark Drip.
Look at suffering in yourself and you see that there is suffering. Then you also see that perceive that there's an end to that suffering. That is also a noble truth.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what I choose to believe. I choose to believe that there is an end to suffering, but I just thought it's like a perspective.
You see this in meditation, like you see that the suffering arises, you see that there's an end to suffering. Is that not also a noble truth, Dr. Rob?
I don't know about that.
You don't know about an end to suffering.
Well, in the Mahayana view, I'm just saying there's a lot of incongruency of thinking that you have going on. That means that you should be more humble and more ready to receive and less focused on giving.
Not from you, Dr. Rob.
Exactly. Of all people.
Nor have you passed any sort of knowledge, like, you know, like, when you think that Buddhism is going to bring burdens.
Buddhism brings responsibility, which is what I said was an antonym or synonym for burden. For most people, responsibility is a burden, but in Buddhism, responsibility is a gift. Just like for most people, suffering is that which to be avoided, and for Buddhists, suffering is that to which be recognized and embraced and faced and transformed, no?
I like washing the dishes.
Yeah. It's good. Sounds good, Maya. Thank you for your sharing. And I love that symbol as well. Is that Native American symbol, Maya?
Your hands. It's kind of like a meditative
No,
thing.
it's a Hindu symbol.
Oh, is it? So, we're back at square one, aren't we?
We could take a step back to where we were talking earlier about facing our traumas.
Yeah, that was dope. So I'm just gonna take it before he says something. I think trauma is a lifelong thing. Do you guys believe in healthy trauma? Because I do.
Do you believe in life after love?
Life after love.
Yeah, it's positive trauma. Love is a positive trauma.
Are you talking about codependence?
It must be hard.
Is that what you're talking about? Codependence?
I don't know. Please, sorry,
It's
continue.
not about high pieces as a teacher.
You muted yourself.
I don't think one time spend in retreats, the hardest going to get because you don't even possess it.
Oh, watch out for that tiger eating rabbit. I noticed that and I said, uh-oh, watch out. He's got no idea, just listening. Those thoughts are just to be thought and released, not to be held onto, not about, shared on and that kind of thing, okay? Just to be experienced and released. We don't know what other people have a hold on. We don't know what other people are going through. And that's a real mind fuck because it feels so communal. And that's where a lot of our kind of, self-anxiety can get caught up in. That idea of, people can feel my vibes, can feel my energy. No, they can't. Not unless they are a very serious cultivator. Not unless they're a meditation master in some regard. Otherwise, they're just assuming and making things up and whatever. Yeah, they're good. Cushions are good. But the pain is good too. Just don't break your knees and stuff. Unless you're willing to do that. You don't want to accidentally break your knees. Thank you, Meha Gossage. We are the world. Excuse me? Don't label it. What are you, a labeler? Are you a shop clerk? Don't ever say Buddha sucks. Buddha's an OG that watches over all of us and protects us from our suffering life and teaches us how to end suffering once and for all. I'll take a lot of things here. But I certainly won't take people coming in and saying Buddha sucks. We won't use, hey, Buddha is not dead. Buddha lives on in all of our hearts. Buddha lives on in the Arya Sangha. That's the real Sangha we take refuge in. When we say the Sangha is well-minded practitioners, we're just being a little bit generous and kind.
Beat up this one, beat up one, get all these things, all these things from here and that, achieve this, that, the other, that type of thing. So you got a lot of responsibility. I can understand that, but like all those things are like a pleasure, right? Getting rid of parasites, getting rid of like cyclic pains and trauma cycles and all that sort of stuff is pleasure.
Some things should get easier because you've already like learned the lessons. So it's like, like I used to be a raging alcoholic and I would wake up with, horrible hangovers because I drink too much alcohol. And, I detached from that. I no longer get drunk. I don't have to worry about waking up with, my horrible, hangovers.
That's not weakness, exactly.
I wish more people were like that with drugs, actually, because a lot of people say that they do drugs to like get these like insights, and I'm just like, bro, how about you like implement those insights instead of being like, I gotta go back and take more drugs. It's like, bro, like I think you're just like addicted to drugs. You're not really learning. You think you're learning, but you're really just kind of addicted. You're a drug addict. You're not really.
You're an alcoholic.
I just want to tell you that I respect you. And like,
I want to tell you I dislike you. I don't like.
I respect you too, Midnight. Dark Drip, you're out of your element. You're whining about collegiate level basketball being played because you're at high school level or whatever. That's stupid. Doesn't make any sense. There's a context.
So far has been stupid.
Yeah, but there's a context. There's a context that you. There's a context, as if this was about being entertaining.
People are saying.
As if this was about being entertaining. This is about Buddhism and meditation and meditative insight and suffering and the ending of suffering. So not having a seat at the table about that.
For you.
That's fine, but that's what we've been discussing. That's what we've been sharing about here. Is it not?
I mean,
so
all right.
It's an interesting thing. Like the classic Buddhist path is just if one was to apply classic Buddhist path in one's life. So like classic Buddhist path, let's say we find the Sangha's got a teacher. You guys have to like look for alms at a particular time, etc. But if you were to time eating in that exact sort of way, and to like try to incorporate that sort of philosophy into your own life, there's two ways of doing that, right? One is according to monk, you cannot do it. You must live in a Sangha where you must really understand.
No, that's not true.
Is essence. All right.
I'm just saying that's an important principle, an important practice, and you can do it in all kinds of different ways.
Right.
It's like saying that you can't be good at basketball by not playing basketball with other people. Of course you can, but it's a very known and well-established principle that if you play basketball with other people, that's going to help you improve. That's all I'm saying. And that's a very important experience in this, scope.
What would you say for this? That ignorance, if one does not maintain one's practice, ignorance will overtake one as it did before.
Well, that's where insight comes in. That's where fruit comes in. So stream entry, Sotapatti, Sakyagami, Anagami, Arahat, etc. So you get to this point of where you can't go back from that. And that is more the point when suffering significantly diminishes, when those afflictions significantly diminish.
I have to agree with you there.
After stream entry or things like that, yeah. That's what they say at least.
Well, that's the thing. So, but generally speaking, for practical people like me, who, we in and out. Like, for me, I practice Buddhism when suffering starts to get overwhelming.
Yeah.
Then I started really looking at myself and being like, okay, yeah, treat the doctors, exhibiting ill will here and it's doing this and that, and I started looking, then things start getting better. But then I can get comfortable and ignorance will come back in. But this doesn't invalidate the direct experience of achieved these things, right? But then it then means though that those things are also overshadowed by reaccumulation of ignorance. Would you agree that that's a possibility?
Yeah, but not if you've. I mean, yeah, anything is possible. It all becomes very practical. That's the good thing about
Very, very practical.
being in a meditation retreat and then being in a meditation community, is it becomes very, very practical. But a lot of times when we're just talking about things, it's not very practical. Because we have like this false sense of equality, like Dark Drip is trying to run up the wall on being equal. But it's not about being equal. Equality is still dualistic.
I don't want to be equal to you, bro.
Then
I
it's
think you're
superior.
weird. I
Then
don't
it's
know why you feel
superiority.
like that.
Then it's superiority. So it's the
Not
same
even
problem.
trying to superior,
Being
bro. I just think
superior,
what you're
being
saying is
inferior,
boring.
being equal.
Like, you won't even let me talk. I think this is an ego thing for you. I just thought what you're saying is boring. I'm not doing anything because Midnight Gospel is
mirroring.
interested. I just think Midnight Gospel is interested. So I'm not doing anything.
But
Yeah,
also
I'm,
just
like I said, like he's interested.
But what?
So I'm
But
not
what
doing
could
it.
be
I'm just
more
chilling.
boring?
interaction is most interesting.
But what could be more? I mean, this Discord server is the spiritual truth. We had Maya, and just practically
You
speaking,
know what it is,
Midnight
bro?
Gospel
It's not
having
even-
a conversation.
It's not even what you're saying. It's
No,
the vibe.
I know, but
The
I'm
vibe
saying,
is just kind of like.
but I'm saying,
lame.
irregardless of vibe, like what could be more boring than just chiming in every 5 minutes or 10 minutes with some ego babble judgment that adds nothing to the conversation and doesn't show that you're listening at all to the conversation. Like what could be more boring
really
and
not.
irrelevant
I
than
admitted
that?
that.
No,
I
I'm
said
asking
that.
you
I said that at the
practically.
very beginning.
I'm asking you beyond the ego dynamics of it. Like, what could be more boring and irrelevant than that? Chiming in every 5 or 10 minutes with some ego opinion or judgment and then going back into silence.
Okay, so let's
I was
pause,
kind of
let's
just
pause
hoping we
there.
could move away from it. That was my little.
Then you have to bring up a subject so that we can move away from it.
Let's pause there.
Well, we did, bro. We did. We brought up trauma like what 3 times, and then you brought it back to this. Like
How?
don't-
By sitting down?
What do you want me to say? What would you like me to say?
Is there a more
I don't want you to say anything. I want you to be quiet and listen and learn.
Like besides like things like that, like I feel like I'm not sure if this is correct, but that they both suffered from a reaccumulation of ignorance to some level through exposure to like, you know, the elements of regular society and having assumed them. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Abandon those things and conduct ourselves.
It's time to stop talking about this looks maxing bullshit. It's time to start talking about Buddhism and meditation and how to end our suffering. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, baby. It's Buddhism time. It's meditation time. It's mindfulness and detachment time. It's mind maxing time.
Bro, teaching us chi ascend us, bro.
Yeah.
Why is he at
I was a Buddhist monk for 7 years. I was a professional Buddhist for 7 years, buddy.
That's actually good.
As a professional Buddhist,
Take that hat off, fuck nigga.
The last thing you'll ever want to feed in your life is aggression and negativity. Because the aggression and negativity that you put out into the world is a mirror. So it's something that's just expressing what you have in yourself. And yeah, people say ha ha ha, but it's actually not funny. Aggression is actually not funny when the knife is pointed at your forehead. So a lot of times we're aggressive. Well, a lot of times we're aggressive to other people because we're aggressive to parts of ourselves.
You're talking about aggressive right now, not He's got full control.
Yeah, he's got full court, so yeah, I respect that shit.
No, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That whole time you were talking about you had cheese dropping from your mustache. I'm gonna put that shit out. You got like Parmesan dropping out.
You're fronting, you're bluffing. That's why. You can laugh about it, but ultimately it's a front and it's a bluff. And if you allow young men to go around bluffing and fronting, you're going to create an untenable situation for deep and meaningful conversation to take place.
Wait, Dr. Rob, can you explain to me how the fuck a cricket got a perm? You ugly bitch ass nigga.
Dr. Rob, you
a bitch ass nigga.
I am penetrating your mind. 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 Cut the shit. Cut the fake shit. Cut the bluffing. Cut the fronting. Be a real man. Have a real conversation. You either got something to say or you're just going to keep slinging trash out of your ass.
Yo, Dr. Rock is
I'm gonna put my dick in your ass is what I'm gonna do.
You're not going to do nothing, buddy.
Yeah, I'm gonna take your pants down your ass from the back with my special armbar. I'm gonna fuck you in the ass.
Bro, Wang, I'm just astonished at the fucking cortisol control, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Look at that.
I was a Buddhist monk for 7 years, buddy. Time to get real, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, the fire alarm of realness has rung, and you can be a bluff or a front, or you can be a real OG. I'm here to turn you from a goofy to an OG, buddy. I was interviewed by Kai Cenat. I was on stream with Kai Cenat. He interviewed me for 30 plus minutes. Search up Kai Cenat Monk. I'm the most famous person you've ever talked to in your life. So you keep fronting and bluffing, and you're going to miss out on being put on about something.
Rob, you're all famous and shit, but is that going to help with respect for Max Dilla?
He doesn't even push for it.
I was on stream with Kai Cenat. I was on stream with Aiden Ross. I was on stream with iShow Speed. I was on the Matan Evans podcast. I collaborated with Anthpo. Search for Kai Cenat Monk and it'll all answer your questions, buddy.
Dude, he's actually
Kai Cenat Monk, baby.
okay, but we're
Kai Cenat interviewed me for 30 minutes. It wasn't a fucking meme show. He interviewed me for 30 minutes on it. Kai Cenat's one of the most famous people in the world, buddy. He's one of the largest platforms in the world. Whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, that's the reality of the situation, buddy. You're gonna have to see the hair on the tip of my fucking toenail when I put my foot so far up your ass that it's coming out of your mouth and looking you right in your eyes, buddy. Watch your
I
mouth.
want to see the hair on your tip of your tongue.
what did I do to you?
Your name doesn't even show up on it.
What did I do? Why aren't they aggressive type, bro? Why are you gonna
Dude, what? I saw you have cortisol on
Yeah, that's what I'm
Wang,
saying.
what is your ethnicity, Wang? What kind of Asian are you, Wang?
It's not even gonna twitch, bro.
I'm Chinese. I'm Chinese.
Okay, well, but you know, Buddhism is fundamental to Chinese culture. No Buddhism, no China. Yes or no? Of course, yeah. So, you know. You're very welcome. Amito fo, ni hao. W's in the chat for China, everybody. W's in the chat for China. There's a lot of good people over there.
I want to burn this nigga's body.
You ain't gonna burn nothing, buddy, because I'm about to burn you with a penetration directly into your mind soul. I am penetrating your mind. I am penetrating your mind. I am penetrating your mind.
The cortisol spike in this VC is crazy. Brutal cortisol.
Everything.
Dr. Rob, bro, come on.
Relax. You have to meet them where they are, and where they are is a high cortisol level. Bring it down, relax. Go from a goofy to an OG right here and right now. From a goofy to an OG right now.
Yo, trying to fuck up.
Yo, seriously,
Open, bro. You want to know something?
Why do we fear the silence? Why do we fear the vulnerability and the openness? Why do we fear confronting and experiencing something that is not in our understanding? Beyond your ego. I'm old enough to be the most famous motherfucker that you ever met in your life. I'm old enough to be the one who is on Kai Cenat's stream. I'm old enough to be the one who was interviewed by Kai Cenat for 30 plus minutes, baby. You ain't nothing. You ain't nothing compared to me. You frontin' and you bluffing. You frontin' and you bluffing and you know it. You frontin' and you bluffing and you know it.
Where's the video of you and Kai Cenat? I don't see shit about
Search for Kai Cenat Monk.
Just search for Kai Cenat Monk on YouTube, and it's the first thing that shows up. I said that the interview with Kai Cenat is only one of those things. I was on Matan Evans' podcast. I collaborated with Anthpo. I was on with iShow Speed. I was on with Aiden Ross. You guys are being weird. You guys are lowering the level here. This is a high tier meme. This is a real opportunity for you guys to get lifted up and empowered.
Bro, look at my. Oh my god. Is that you?
As fuck, bro. Holy shit.
That's him. Fucking did a little conflict. Last air, bro, fucking Rob, idiot. Rob is fucking idiot. Dr. Rob, bro, how is Anime Con?
Nigga was fucking to Kai Cenat 3 years ago. Holy fuck, it's over for you.
Bro, it's over.
He's clinging onto that one thing.
46,000, never mind, that don't count.
Bro, you're still talking about it was 3 years ago. What?
Yeah.
Bro, come on,
I
bro.
know that 46,000.
Me being on the Kai Cenat podcast 3 years ago is not a response to me being the most famous person in this Discord call and me being somebody who's actually taken the time out of their valuable time and day to share with you and be here with you and share some experience. If Kai Cenat could listen to 30 minutes along with 20,000 people, why the fuck can't you? You're better than Kai Cenat? Your time's more valuable than Kai Cenat's time? You're making jokes, you're lying, you're fronting, you're bluffing, you're pretending, you're trying to disassociate when this is the realest thing that's come onto your plate in the last fucking entirety of your life. Whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, that's the way it is.
That was an encore, so that was.
Bro, can you take off your hat?
We gotta find out the Robin kick his ass.
Oh, yeah.
Beat him to the ground.
Bro, not a single cortisol spike, bro.
Can I see your hair real quick?
Not a single brain cell between Rob and fucking brain.
Dr. Rob, Dr. Rob, Dr.
Dr.
Rob.
Rob,
I always says Dr. Rob, nigga, fucking Rob. Fucking Dr. Rob.
What's your net worth? Dr. Rob, what's your net worth?
What's your net worth?
Well, firstly, we're going to establish that fame matters. Firstly, before we establish that money matters, we're going to establish that fame matters, aren't we? So somehow fame doesn't matter, but now money matters. How are we working on that? So you're going to put some respect on my name before we move forward.
You're not famous.
Yo.
Tough group. That's a good point. Fame doesn't mean anything. Fame comes with disrepute. The positive comes with the negative, so don't fixate on the positive. Or that fixation will, like a magnet, turn to the negative. And vice versa. Or, I don't know. Yeah, they're addicted to being overstimulated, and then if non-stimulation is on the platter, then they're concerned about that. They're protesting against non-stimulation. All right, well, this is hour 3. And we can ask a question if anyone has a question, and if not, we'll start to close out our session today. Anyone have any questions or anything they'd like to share? Yeah, it's also a protest against being vulnerable. Hope everybody's doing okay.
Thank you. Okay, we can finish with some loving kindness. You can repeat after me. And good luck to any of those who will soon be doing a meditation retreat of their own. Okay, you can say together with me, repeat after me. May I be free from suffering. May I be free from suffering. May I be free from suffering. May you, whoever you are, be free from suffering. May you, whoever you are, be free from suffering. May you, whoever you are, be free from all suffering. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere be free from suffering. May all beings everywhere throughout time and space be free from all suffering. May it be, may it be, may it truly, truly, truly be. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, thank you, dear friends. See you again soon for more meditation and Dhamma and wandering on this path we call life. Take care.